All right, so I will put us on mute while we're in class, but you're always welcome to unmute yourself during class if you have any questions or comments. There's also a little chat box there at the bottom of the screen. You can send me messages during class because I do keep an eye on the screen. You're welcome to keep your videos going. It gives me feedback and try to keep an eye on you as much as possible as well. So we will, looks good. All right, so I'm gonna move towards my mat and thank you all for being here tonight, of course. So we will start in our supported Baddha Konasana, Supta Baddha Konasana. So strap for the end of class, yoga blocks if you have them, they might come in handy. Some type of eye coverings for the end of class. A bath towel is great for a little additional support for the head, under the knees, that type of thing. A pillow or a bolster, if we have it, we'll place that towards the front of our class to support the legs. And then we'll either take our bath towel or a folded blanket if we want a little additional lift for the spine and a little bit more opening for the chest and the shoulders today. So adding this little bit of lift is a really nice way to counter the rounding that we do on our laptops, our daily chores, and on our phones, just allowing the chest to open. It will also improve our breathing, which can improve our energy levels. So if we get our blankets or towels in a rectangular shape, at that point, folding them one more time in half, and what we're trying to do is end up with a long rectangular shape, which will be able to support the length of our back and support the back of the head. So we'll get our props into position, and that prop will go to the back of our mat where the spine and the head will be. We do want to sit flat to the floor here, and then personal preference, either drawing the short end of our support a little closer to the low back or further away. Generally leaving about one fist or one hand's distance there is a nice way to let the low back continue to release. And we'll just align ourselves best as possible. The wider our fold, the more support we'll have. The skinnier of the fold, the more that will be opening for the chest as the shoulders sink towards the ground. We'll bend at the elbows and try to cactus our arms from our shoulders, allowing the backs of the hands to fall towards the ground. So if those hands don't easily fall to the ground, either let gravity traction them out or add extra support option to move them around to where you're comfortable. As far as the legs are concerned, taking care of our low backs, we might just place the soles of the feet to the ground and let the insides of the knees come together. The Baddha Konasana portion of that brings the soles of the feet to touch and the knees opening with the support of the pillow underneath the feet and the legs. And always an option to stretch the legs out into Shavasana, allowing those feet to fall open. So I'll give us a moment to adjust ourselves here, organize ourselves with our props. Now, if the head needs a little bit of extra support, take that bath towel or a smaller pillow behind the head. We'll start to settle into our practice here. And starting our practice off as we normally do, taking some time to reconnect our physical body and to feel and observe the rhythm of our breath so that we can let go of any stress or worries you might have been carrying around from our day, so that we can reduce any anxiety or things that we might be feeling, and really just allow our body and our brain to relax. So loosen things up, get comfortable, rock the head out, poof the cheeks with air, wiggle out the mouth, the tongue, and jaw. Once we feel like our body is in the most comfortable position that it can be this evening, let's press the pause button from our day and instill stillness into our body. slowing things down and calming the mind and the body down. Relax all the little muscles across the face. Our eyes have been working very hard for us all day, so let's allow those eyes to relax for a moment, sinking them into the sockets. Release the root of the tongue and lower jaw to gravity. Soften the throat, down into the heart and chest. Those of us that have that little bit of elevation behind the spine, let that stretch really open up across the chest, the sternum, the rib cage. Weight of the shoulders, elbows, and hands sinks further into the ground. Mentally move down the spine, vertebra by vertebra, softening the muscles down the sides of the spine, into the low back. Let's pause for a moment around the belly. Let the belly relax. And see if we notice any subtle movement of the belly with the breath. And then let's pay even more attention this evening to the area around the pelvis and the hips. Feeling the bones of the pelvis, noticing the area of that connection of the thigh bone into the pelvis at the hip sockets. Feeling the meaty muscles around the area of the body and really trying to relax and soften those areas. The element associated with Svadhisthana chakra is the element of water. So just like water, we want this relaxation to flow down the rest of the body, through the legs, around the joints of the knees, into the ankles, the feet, and the toes. Now, as we continue to let the weight of the body sink further into the ground, let's start to spread our awareness back to the natural rhythm of the breath. Observing the flow of the breath in and out through the nose. Observing the quality of our breathing tonight without judgment. And beginning to notice how the body naturally expands on our in-breath as we fill ourselves up. And noticing how the body naturally contracts on our out-breath as we empty the body, letting go of stale old air and energy. Now, as gently as possible, let's bring the hands onto the body, placing the right hand near the belly and the left hand near the chest or the heart. And we'll deepen our breath and move into this wave-like breath. On our next inhale, as we breathe in, try to relax the abdominal muscles and allow the abdomen to expand. Continue to fill the body as the chest and rib cage expands. Inhaling all the way up to the brim and the throat. On our exhale, we reverse the breath back out. So we soften the throat, we let the chest relax, and then we let the abdomen drop back down into the body. Moving the breath like a wave. Inhaling through the nose, belly expands and rises. Continue to fill the body up into the rib cage, all the way to the top in the throat. On the exhale, emptying the body from the top to the bottom, soften the throat, the chest, and very gently draw the belly in towards the body. Now we'll all move at our own individual pace. And if we feel like the mind's been a little more overstimulated as of late, a little bit more anxiousness in our lives, for our breath work tonight, when we get to our exhale, Try to breathe 1 or 2 more counts out on the exhale. Otherwise, try to keep the breath as even and rhythm as possible. So for example, if we're inhaling to a count of 1, 2, 3, we'll either keep the exhale equal in length, or we'll add an additional count to 4 or 5 on our breath out. Remembering, just like with our body, we don't ever force or strain the breath. And our breath is our guide throughout our practice. Let's all try to flow through one more round of breathing. Allowing this breath to be our biggest breath of our day yet. So on our next inhale, really trying to expand, fill ourselves up for fresh air and energy for our practice tonight. And then on that next exhale, taking the time to empty, empty, empty every last drop out. Really putting some effort into this exhale, a little bit of squeeze at the end to clear everything out. And then we'll release control or trying to follow the breath for a moment. So we'll let the breath wander away wherever it wants to go. We'll relax the hands back down to the ground besides the body. In whatever position we're in, we'll start to wake the body back up. So give the toes a little wiggle, the fingertips, a gentle rock of the head side to side. If the knees are open in bound angle pose, draw the knees up towards the ceiling. And let's all try to stretch our legs down the middle of our mat. Inhale, breathing, reach those arms up towards the ceiling and extend them overhead into our long body stretch. And we'll take a moment here just to stretch and lengthen the body out. Point and flex the feet a couple times, stretch side to side. Take one more big breath in. And then this next exhale, walk the feet in. And then depending on how high we are up on our prop, you might just float the knees up a little bit. We'll roll ourselves over to one side and pause for a moment. And then we'll press down into the ground to bring our bodies up so that we can move our props off of our mat. Now for tonight, we will lie back down on the ground for a moment. I want us to do some of these fluid movements in and around the hip joints, but we will clear our space for the time being of our props so that we can lie flat back down to the ground. So we'll bring ourselves right back down onto the mat. Try to make sure you have a little bit of space overhead. Re-extend those legs down the middle of the mat, bringing the insides of the legs to touch, and the arms right down beside us, palms down. Tuck the shoulder blades under. So we'll come back to the breath and we'll pair our movement with the breath. Inhaling one more time, extend the arms up to the ceiling and overhead. Flex the feet this time, spreading the toes and pulling the toes towards the shins. On the exhale, point the toes to the front of the mat, and with some strength, pump your arms down beside the body. Water pump pose. Inhale, re-extend the arms overhead, flex the feet. Now the heels might pop up, your low back will naturally arch, and on the exhale, push your arms through some thick space, point the toes forward and draw the belly in. A few more. Inhale, reaching overhead. Find some extension here. A little bit more abdominal work on the exhale when we pump the arms down and draw the belly in. The head may float up, looking towards the toes. And then on the inhale, toes to shins, arms overhead, relax the head down. 2 more. So the exhale is a little bit more power and a little bit more strength. And the inhale is this lengthening and extension. Now we move right into flowing Pavanamuktasana wind relieving pose. We'll catch up on our next inhale with the arms overhead. So the next exhale draws the belly in. But this time, bend up just the right knee. Arms continue to pump. Choose to hover the head or not, nose towards the knee. On the inhale, re-extend the body long on the mat. So we're trying to use our muscles to do this work. Exhale, pull the left knee up. Feet may be flexed or pointed. Arms are strong, belly in. Inhale, re-extend. Alternating side to side. So this pose does warm the area around the hips and the shoulders. And it starts to do this massaging effect right to left for our digestive system and those internal organs. After our left side, let's meet on our inhale. Exhale, we'll pull our right knee back up, but this time interweave all 10 fingers to the right shin bone. And let's take the passive position. So we should have our right knee drawing in towards the armpit, not directly into the chest. Move out to the side of the rib cage, about just an inch. Now relax the head back down to the ground. Drop the weight of the shoulders and elbows down to the ground. Try to relax as much as possible around the hip area. Just let the legs relax. Let the hands do the work. Now as we breathe in, you might back off a little bit and try to do some abdominal breathing here to get a deeper massage. And then on the exhale, let the hands gently draw the right knee to right armpit. Might feel a little bit of that stretch across the front of the right hip. One more breath for the right side. The inhale releases the right leg all the way back down and out. Arms stretch overhead so that the blood rushes all the way back out. Exhale, pull the left knee in. Wrap the fingers around the left shin bone. Drop the shoulders and elbows down to the ground. And now on the exhale, when you're compressing, let the left knee move a little bit towards the armpit. So maybe just an inch or so off to the side. We'll still feel the compression along the left abdominal wall and across the left hip. But this is the passive approach. We're really trying to relax the hips and the legs and just let the hands do the work. Inhale, maybe let the thigh move out just slightly to inflate the abdomen. Exhale, pull to deepen the stretch. One more breath for our left side. Exhale, breathing to pull. Inhale, releases the foot and leg all the way back out. Arms overhead, stretch it all out. Exhale, both arms float beside the body. Walk the feet in, heels towards sit bones. Draw the shoulder blades under. Those of you that have a yoga block, you may place your yoga block between your inner thighs as we prepare to do a fluid version of our bridge pose again. So head stays in line with the spine. Toes point straight forward, knees track towards the toes. Squeezing the backside. On our inhale, let's float the hips up, tracking the hips towards the knees, allowing the weight to move to the meaty part of the shoulders. And on the exhale, lowering the hips back down to the ground. Follow your breath. The breath should be even and smooth. So again, if you're breathing in for 3, you lift up for 3. And that means on your breath out, you should lower back down to a count of 3. And as we begin to strengthen the back side and stretch the front side, maybe we go a little bit higher. That chest might move towards the chin, but we want to avoid tucking the chin to the chest. The neck should be curving naturally away from the ground. Tighten up those glutes. Nice way to stretch out and counter the hip flexors from the sitting that we do. Couple more rounds, adding that version with the arms. On our inhales, arms may re-extend overhead. And then on the exhale, the arms float back down. And that will massage those muscles of the upper back between the shoulder blades. Let's take one more, whatever variation we're choosing this evening. We'll meet on the exhale, floating those arms back down beside us. Draw the belly in and then hug those knees in and gently rock side to side here. Take the hands behind those thighs, extend both legs up to the ceiling, point and flex the feet a couple times in our waterfall pose. Do try to straighten those legs out as much as possible, pressing the thighs into the hands. And then from here, draw those knees back in, hands to shin bones. Try to draw the head up, nose towards the knees to stretch out the whole back. And then we'll relax the head down, bring the right arm down beside the head, and roll onto our right side, pausing again for a moment. And then press down into the ground, extend the top leg to help the body come up, and we'll bring the body up to a seat. So we are going to try to go right into Baddha Konasana again here. Do add a little bit of lift under the sit bones so that we can keep our spine in a nice neutral position. That might be your folded blanket, towel, a little cushion. If you're lifting higher up on a yoga block, that's fine as well, but you might need to take additional support for underneath the knees. Move the flesh out of the way so that we feel our sit bones connected. Try to press the 3 points of the feet together. So the mount of the big toe, mount of the pinky toes, and the centers of the heels. Bring the hands beside the hips for a moment and try to get the pelvis to tip, even maybe a little bit more forward. So I need to take it up a notch. Now keep the hands extended out beside the hips here. Do draw that low belly and slightly elevate through the chest and float the head on the shoulders. Let's turn the palms up to the ceiling and inhale, reach both arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, palms out, float the fingertips to the floor. Inhale, right arm only, lift it up beside the ear. We'll do our lateral extension over to the left, keeping the sit bones rooted. Inhale, pulls us up. Switch arms, we're sliding along an invisible wall. Exhale, keep the sit bones grounded. Inhale to reach up. One more time to each side. Feel that length through the waist, rib cage, and shoulder. We'll take it one more time over to our right. And then inhale, both arms back up to center. Bring the palms to touch and exhale to our center. From here, just lower the hands down towards the ankles of the feet. We'll take a couple breaths in our Baddha Konasana. So again, those of us that have some space here and we'll tilt at the hips, as long as you can keep the extension through the spine, front of your spine, without collapsing and rounding, you may add a little bit of a hinge. The elbows may very gently draw down towards those thigh bones so that gravity is helping traction out those hips and thighs. If that puts too much strain on the low back, continue to sit up straight and tall. And the intention is just drawing the head of those thigh bones down and into the sockets. And then for another breath, those of us that have space, fingertips may walk forward and we might bring the body a little further towards the ground in front of us, just being very mindful of how that translates to the low back. One more breath in the pose. Our next inhale will bring us out of the pose. Take your time, use your hands to weight back into the hands, restack the spine. Take the hands underneath the knees, float the knees up, stepping the feet wider than the hips. Draw the fingertips behind the body and just rock the knees a couple times side to side, little windshield wiping action to loosen up the hips. I'll now sit up tall, sliding the heels out into our V shape, Upavishta Konasana. So if you're a little higher up like I am, you might need to take, again, additional support behind the knees so the knees aren't hyperextending and collapse. Otherwise, lower yourself closer to the ground or simply keep a micro bend at the knees. We want to be drawing the tops of the thigh muscles up the legs, actively flexing the feet, toes to shins. Continue to draw the low belly in. Now those hands may stay by the hips. little bit of a hinge there. So we're stretching out the inner thighs, backs of the legs. We might move the hands forward and continue to extend the spine forward. Again, just be very mindful how that translates to our low back. Upavishta Konasana, seated angle pose. Take one more breath wherever we're at. Our next inhale will float us up, lead through the crown of the head. Use weight in the hands to help restack the spine. Take a hold of behind the knees, float the knees up, feet are wide. Fingertips, hands come behind the body, little rock side to side. So from here, we'll move right into deer pose or Christina's pose. This is another hip opener. So knees are wide here. Walk the feet in a little bit closer towards the body and draw the right heel in towards the pelvic floor, allowing the right knee to fall to the ground. And then we'll internally rotate the left thigh bone. So you'll take the left foot behind you, dropping the left knee towards the ground. So right heel is lined up with the pelvic floor, right knee to the ground. Left knee falls into the ground, right foot's behind us. So the position of the right foot might be further away from the hip. Some people like to bring it a little bit closer, but we're not sitting on it. Now we might still be lifted up onto our little wedge behind our sit bones. Ideally, we have both sit bones grounded. So this is a pose that will tell us pretty quickly if we're internally or externally rotated. I'm a very internally rotated person. That's why it's hard for me to do full lotus or any open hip stuff. Now, if you want to try to sit down to the ground, just slide your prop out, see what happens. You might notice that if you keep your right knee down, the left hip's got to come up. But if you sink your left sit bone down, the right knee comes up. And again, that's because of the disposition in our hips. But ideally, both sit bones are sinking towards the ground. Now, we don't need to lift up. Depending where we are in our space, some of us might want to adjust so that our knees have a little bit of cushion in front of them. So that might be your blanket or your towel, bringing it in front of your knees. And I think I might add mine since I have it nearby, because there will be pressure if we're lifting up. Right hand comes to floor outside of the right hip. To begin with, let's all keep our hips down just so we know what the modification is. Inhale, reach the left arm over the ear and lean over to the right. So again, we're trying to feel this stretch, pulling the waist out from the hip. And then exhale, bring it back down. So if we want to add the additional stretch, next inhale, press down through the right hand, lift the hips up. You are driving the hips forward and up as the left arm reaches over the ear. Big stretch for that whole left side. Exhale, we lower back down. So if that did not feel comfortable for the knees or the back, keep your hips down, just do the arm. We'll repeat 2 more times. Inhaling, lifting up, keeping the head as an extension of the spine. Exhale, lower. 1 more time. Inhale, big lift. Exhale. From here, we go right into a twist. So we take our left fingertips over to the right knee. The right fingertips walk a little further behind us. Sit up tall, and on the exhale, gently try to rotate and twist to the right. So we're looking over the back shoulder, wringing everything out. Feel free to flip the back of the left hand around the right thigh bone so the palm is facing out. That will keep your left shoulder open. 1 more breath in the twist. And take 1 more inhalation, allowing the exhale to unwind the body, bringing the head and the body to face back forward. Now to release this pose, we can shift our weight back onto our hands and lean back so that we can slide the right foot back out, float the left knee up, and the left foot back out. And then take your windshield wiping movement side to side, loosen things up. So we'll try that on the other side. We'll pull the Left heel right in front of the pelvic floor and allow the left knee to fall down. And you can lean a little bit over to the left so you bring the right foot out and the right knee falls in towards the ground. So the toes are pointing out. The space here of the foot out or in kind of depends on our knee and the hip. And again, ideally, we have both sit bones connected to the ground. So if I try to bring my right sit bone down, the left knee pops up because I have very little external rotation in my thighs. If I were to try to bring that knee down, this hip comes up. In a moment, it won't really matter because we'll be lifting and lowering anyway. Left hand comes to the floor outside of the hip. So this is our nice, strong anchoring hand and arm. Keep the hips down. Inhale, just the arm overhead. Just see how that side stretch feels. And then exhale. So choose to continue with just the arm, or inhale, press into the left hand, hips float up. And you're trying to engage a little bit through the back of the body, reaching overhead. Exhale to lower. We'll do that 2 more times with the breath. So when we inhale, lift up, driving the hips forward, we should feel that stretch along the whole right side of the body, front of the hip, the waist. Exhale. Good. 1 more time. Squeeze the back side to stretch the front side. And exhale. Bring it on down. Sit bones down. Right hand comes over to the left knee. Left fingertips try to walk a little bit further behind. We keep the length in our spine. Flip the right palm out if you like. And then on that exhale, we'll continue to try to rotate and twist through the shoulders, the head, the neck, and the eyes, peeking over our back shoulder. One more breath. And then we'll take another inhalation in the twist so that our exhale guides us out of the twist. Exhaling and unwinding head, shoulders, and body to face forward. Leaning back on the hands so that we can carefully slide the left foot out. Right knee floats up. Step the right foot forward. Little rock side to side. So bring both of those feet over to one side. Drop the knees down, or however you want to transition, and bring the hands over so that we can bring ourselves up and around to our tabletop. So that's where we're headed, is a tabletop position. So we adjust ourselves in our space here. Spread those fingers nice and wide, nice strong arms. Feel that weight-bearing exercise. So this is really healthy for our bones. Anytime we bear weight, bone-to-bone compression and pressure stimulates that mineral growth through our bones. So healthy for arthritis and osteoporosis. Knees are stacked underneath the hips, flatten out the tops of the feet, and float the head right in line with the spine. Keep that low belly drawing in to stabilize the low back. Give the right foot a stretch behind to the floor, pressing the heel towards the ground to stretch out the calf muscles, the back of the leg. Breathe it in. Exhale, right knee comes down. Same thing, other side. Stretch the left foot back for a breath or 2. Keep the weight equal in both hands, opening up the eye of the knee. Exhale, bring it down. Re-extend the right leg. This time more back strengthening, so squeeze the right buttock. Hovering the right leg parallel to the floor, the foot is flexed. Crouching tiger tonight to do that movement in and around the hip socket again. From here, bend the right knee so that the sole of the foot is now facing the ceiling. Exactly. So on our inhale, try to press the sole of the foot up a little higher. Look forward. Now on the exhale, point the toes of the foot, because we'll need to create some space. Draw the belly in and pull the knee underneath the body, nose towards the knee. Little rounding of the back. Inhale, press the sole of the foot up to the ceiling. Look forward, strengthening the back. Exhale, swing the knee forward towards the nose. Crouching tiger. Inhale, squeeze the left. Exhale. One more time. We'll meet on the inhale, pressing the sole of the foot up to the ceiling. Exhale, lower the right knee back down to the ground. Fingertips, fists for wrists. On the inhale, couple cat-cows. Relax the belly, gentle back bend. Exhale, scoot, tuck, and round the back up. Look to the belly button. Inhale, gentle back bending, lengthening. Exhale, scoop, tuck, and round. And then inhale back to a nice neutral spine. So other side, stretch that left leg straight back from the hip. Nice strong left side. Feel the glute engage, hover that left leg parallel to the floor. Bend at the knee. The thigh is still parallel, but now the sole of the foot is facing the ceiling. Inhale, lift the foot up, look forward, squeeze the back. Exhale, point the toes, draw the belly in, swing the knee forward, tuck the nose towards the knee. Inhale to press and lift. Exhale to pull and squeeze. Inhale and exhale. One more time, moving through that range in the hip, front to back. We'll meet on the inhale, pressing the sole of the foot up, squeezing the back. Exhale, the knee comes down. Option to rise up on the fingertips or fists for wrist. A couple rounds of our cat-cows to loosen up the back. Inhaling, gentle back bending. Exhale, rounding into flexion. And remember, adding little lateral movements in these poses, or if one feels really nice for the back tonight, feel free to hold it. The gentle back bending, great for decompressing the spine and herniated discs. The rounding is great for muscular tension and tightness in the back. And then let's bring it back to a neutral position and stretch out the back and hips and come off our hands in child's pose. Opening those knees nice and wide, big toes touching. Sinking the hips down towards the heels. Option to keep the hands extended forward and wide as we drop the chest and heart to the ground to add a shoulder stretch. Option to stack the hands under the forehead for a more passive stretch or to help support the head. Allow the weight of the body to sink a little further towards the ground, receiving this nice stretch across that low back and around the hips and hip creases. One more breath in the pose. And then next inhale, walk the hands under the shoulders, bear weight into the hands, and rise up to the crown of the head, sitting back on the heels. So we're in a wide seated position. We're actually going to try to take thread the needle from child's pose versus our all fours tonight. So I just wanted us to have a little bit of space to start. So we want to try to keep the hips actually down on the heels. Start to walk the left hand a little further forward. Turn the right palm up to the ceiling and draw the right arm across the chest. Now we come onto the right shoulder. So we are rotating through the torso a little bit and the right ear. If the right ear doesn't easily touch the ground, that folded bath towel would be a nice little prop to have in front of us so that we come onto the right shoulder, the right ear touches down. And we're still trying to sink the hips down to the heels. If this is too much pressure on the knees, you're welcome to float the hips up into tabletop and to do the bigger version of thread the needle pose. This version adds a little component of still continuing to open up the hips and the low back. Now the left hand can continue to walk to the front of the yoga mat. The left arm can stack on top of the right arm. Or we can still take the half bind in this pose, bringing the left arm up to the ceiling around the low back and sliding the left fingertips into that belly, top of the thigh, hip crease. And you can kind of tuck it in there so it stays, And then just relax the left shoulder back towards the ground. Let's take one more breath in the pose. Those of us in the half bind, inhale, left arm up. Bring the left hand back down to the ground in front of the face. Press into that left hand so that we can slide the right hand out. We'll take both hands forward. Float the hips up for a moment. Draw the knees and feet back to tabletop position. Do your single leg stretch from here so that the eyes of the knees open, or tuck your toes under and lift the hips up and walk it out in downward facing dog for a moment to stretch out the eyes of the knees before we do the other side. Because that is a lot of compression for the knees, and it's very beneficial for the knee joint when we release that pose to get that really nice flood of blood around the knee joints. But we'll just give them a quick break before we do the other side. So if we're still up in our down dog, take a breath in. On the exhale, we'll drop back down to tabletop. We'll open the knees wide as our mat, touch the big toes together, sink the hips back to the heels. Keep the right hand slightly forward in front of the shoulder. Turn the left palm up and slide the left arm under the body. We are turning the head, so we're trying to come onto the left ear. Head to a small pillow or folded towel if needed. Let that low back sink, let the belly sink. Right hand can reach to the front of the yoga mat. Right arm can lay on top of the left hand. Or right arm can float across the low back, trying to slide the fingers into that crease of the belly and the thigh. So the weight of our own torso holds the hand in place, and we can relax the shoulder back down. One more breath. Those of us that have the half bind, inhale, arm up. Exhale, bring the right hand back down in front of the face. Press into that hand so we can float up and bring the left hand back out. Same thing, we'll walk our hands forward. Move the knees and feet into tabletop. Single leg stretch, one leg at a time from there. Or tuck the toes under, draw the low belly in, and float those hips up and back and walk our heels out and downward facing dog. So your choice. We want to stretch out the backs of the legs, decompress those knees. Now I do want us to come up for one balancing pose. So if we want to transition through downward facing dog, we'll float up into down dog and we'll all catch up here. Heels sinking towards the ground, toes pointing forward. Fingers are nice and wide, head is floating between those arms, drawing belly to thighs and pushing those thighs back towards the ground. On the next inhale, looking forward, feet to hands and walking into our forward fold. So those of you not practicing your forward folds, you may simply transition into a standing pose and wait for us there. Those of us that want to take a moment to continue to be upside down in a gentle inversion and stretch out the back. Prance your legs, grab a hold of opposite elbows, release the shoulders and head, maybe ragdolling. And then for tonight, let's all place our hands on our thighs, fingers turned in. Tuck the chin in, and as we inhale, use those strong legs to round up one vertebra at a time. Inhale, inhale, inhale. We're articulating up through the spine. Roll those shoulders up by the ears, and on the exhale, pull those shoulders back and down. Standing in Tadasana for a moment. Turn the palms to face forward today. Spread the fingers and toes. Relax the head on the shoulders. Feel a little bit of opening across the front of the chest and the heart. So finding our safe space wherever we are on our mat and around us to go into some of our balancing work here. So these are going to be a little bit more fluid versions of our balancing poses, bringing this element of water into our practice. So it might mean that they're more challenging than just trying to hold a static balancing pose, but that's okay. So we'll do our dropping pose for a moment. So just relax, noodle your arms beside. Remembering these come from the lineage of Qigong. So in this, we let the energy really flow through the body. We want our joints to be loose. So legs, little bend into those knees, feeling our connection towards the floor. On the inhale, hands really relaxed. Bend at the elbows and float the hands up in front of the shoulders. So I'm just flexing at the elbow joints. Now here's the work. On the exhale, I'm going to press my hands down and simultaneously try to rise up on my tippy toes. The inhale lowers the heels, fingertips are relaxed, the hands float up. Exhale, push down, lift the heels. Inhale, heels down, hands up. Exhale, push down to lift. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze the glutes a little bit, strengthen the lower half of the body. Inhale. One more time. Exhale, push down, lift. See how high we can get. Now this inhale, drop the heels down, float just the hands up. And then exhale, float just the arms down. Turn the palms to face forward and scoop up little pools of water in the hands. So pretend like you have little puddles of water on the hands. And then we slide the hands right in front of the waistline here beside us. Again, legs are a little soft here. We will be bending slightly into the knees. We're allowing our weight to sink towards the floor. Shifting the weight into the right leg. Inhale, float the left knee up. Now try to tap the big toe slightly forward. Flex the foot, little standing, kneeling lunge, heel, toe, lift up. Exhale, lower down. Shift the weight over into the left. Inhale, float the knee up. Touch the toe, the heel, the toe. Knee comes up. Exhale, foot down. Lean it back to the right. So let your breath flow evenly and smoothly. You may bend into that standing leg, toe, heel, toe, lift and lower. Knee up, toe, heel, toe, lift and lower. We'll do one more time to each side. Not forgetting about our little pools of water that we're holding in our hands and trying not to let that water spill. So after we do our last one, we'll lift and lower that right knee and place the right foot back to the floor. Feel grounded in both feet here. On the inhale, float both hands up beside the shoulders. Pushing out the walls on the exhale, flip your palms out and very forcefully with a lot of strength, exhale and push. You should feel the muscles of your arms tighten and strengthen. Now flop the hands and inhale, softly pull them in. Exhale, pushing out the walls, push. Feel resistance of those walls, but push them out of the way. Inhale, soften and in. Exhale, pushing out the walls. Soften, inhale. This time, press your palms forward. Exhale, push the wall forward, out of the way. Powerful, strong through the whole body. Even your core should be strong. Soften, inhale. Exhale, push. You're using the strength of your whole body to push that wall forward and out of the way. Soften, inhale. One more time forward, exhale, push. Soften, inhale. This time on the exhale, the palms push all the way back down to the ground. Flip the palms out. Inhale, draw a big circle as wide as we can, all the way overhead. Drishti to the thumbs, adding a little bit of extension. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale the hands to the heart. Okay, so I want us to get into a big hip stretch, Kapotanasana or pigeon pose. If you are not doing forward pigeon because of any knee issues, I'll quickly show us the alternative. It's figure 4 on our back. Lying on the ground, extending right leg, foot actively flexed, placing the right ankle on the left thigh, holding here, or drawing left thigh in, holding the back of left thigh, leg up, or left shin bone. You will hold and breathe, and then you will switch. And then we'll eventually all catch up together. So if you're not doing prone pigeon because of knees, low backs, whatever, other issues, you can just transition onto your back and be there. Don't compromise your knees. It's not worth it. Those of us that want to move into prone pigeon with me, we'll make our way back to the top of our mat and stand tall and Tadasana. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Inhale, breathing, extended mountain, reach back overhead, create some length through the front of the body. On our exhale, we'll hinge and swan dive back to our forward fold, Uttanasana. Pausing just for a moment to stretch out the back and to release tension in the neck and shoulders. Inhale, halfway lift, strengthen the upper back, float the chest. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands, and we'll take a big step back, 1 foot at a time, floating the hips up, back, and down, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. So this is where we'll choose our pigeon, whether you're going to be on your back or on your belly. Those of us in down dog, inhale, right leg up. Exhale, we pull the right knee forward through a plank position. Now we angle the right knee out to the long edge of the yoga mat behind the right wrist, and the right foot is somewhat active. And then we slide the left foot back, dropping to that back knee. Place support under the right hip as needed. If we ever feel any weird pinching around the right knee, you must slowly come out of the pose and do this pose on your back. So those of us in prone pigeon, we might have the ability to bring that right shin bone towards the parallel the front of our mat. My right foot's pretty close to my left hip crease. So we might choose to stay more upright. We want the hips to be sinking towards the ground equally. Add props in front of the body for assistance. We will hold these poses a little bit longer. So those of us that are prone pigeon, we will drop down to elbows, props, even extend the hands forward if you have space, or flare the elbows out so that the head is supported. Those of you on your back, remember you can hold behind the left thigh, the left shin. You can do little movements side to side to help deepen the stretch. And we're all trying to get into this deep hip flexors and the right hip, the piriformis. Relax the face and just take a couple deep breaths. We'll hold for about another minute here. So let's all try to take one more nice deep breath, whatever variation we happen to be in. Full breath in, and even bigger, fuller breath out, letting go. And we'll float the head up, prone pigeon people, do take your time to come up. If you're on your back, you'll re-extend the right leg up to the ceiling and then drop the right foot to the floor. Windshield wipe the knees side to side or happy baby. Those of us that are on the ground here will walk our hands in, tuck the back toes under, inch the back foot and knee a little closer. It's important that we take the weight into the hands so that we take pressure off both knees. And then from there, you might either roll the hip out, stir in the pot a couple times in the right hip socket, pedal your heels in downward facing dog, whatever we need to do to stretch out that knee. So other side, supine pigeon people, then the left leg straight up to the ceiling. That left foot needs to be actively flexed. Cross the ankle on top of the right thigh. Down dog, left leg up. Exhale, pull left knee under the body. Angle it out to the side behind the left wrist. Left foot should be somewhat active. Take the right knee and foot a little bit further back to the back edge of the mat. Support under the left hip as needed. Let the hip sink straight down towards the ground. And just like we did on our first side, we'll take several breaths, hold for a couple minutes. So our body might be able to go a little further into the pose without force. If you ever feel any pinching pain around the knee joint, come out of the pose. If you're on your back, you can slide the hands around the right thigh, extend the right leg up, or around the right shin bone. Use props under the forehead if you are bowing forward, or use your arms so that the head is supported. And we'll hold for about 1 more minute. So let's try to take 1 more breath, whatever variation we're in. A full deep breath in. An even fuller, bigger breath out. Those of us prone on our inhale, we'll use our elbows and our hands to come up. If we're on your back, stretch the left leg up. Bring the left foot to the floor. Take your windshield wipers, happy baby. Those of us prone, walk the back foot and knee in. Take the weight into the hands so we come up off the knees. And then stretch the legs out, roll the left hip out, stir the pot. Down dog people, float those heels up. Exhale, drop to the knees, sit back to the heels. If you're still on your back, you can just tuck into a little ball, wrap your arms around your shin bones, bring your nose to your knee. And then those of us from down dog can sit in more traditional child's pose just for a moment, bowing the head to the ground, hands back to the feet, stretching out the back. And then hands under the shoulders, tuck the chin, round it on up. Shift the weight over to either hip and bring the feet forward. So we're gonna come onto our back, have your straps ready and other props that you might want for final Shavasana nearby so we don't have to hunt them down here in a second. Have some space behind the body. And we'll use our hands to bring ourselves down to our back or do our slow roll down. Planting the soles of the feet, knees are wide, reaching fingertips forward, hollowing out the belly, and try to slowly bring it down one vertebra at a time. Once we get down to the ground, wherever we are, stretch the legs and the arms out overhead. Long body stretch to bring everything into alignment. Loosen up the clothing, adjust those ponytails. Exhale, float the arms down, walk the feet in. So Supta Padangusthasana, we'll hold our variations for just a couple deep breaths on each side tonight to prepare ourselves for our final relaxation. So we'll start with the right side, bend the right knee in, taking the strap near the lower arch of the foot towards the heel. Hold the strap in both hands so the heart stays open. Feel free to loop the strap around the hands. Straightening the right leg as much as possible. Slide the left heel forward, anchoring the left leg to the ground. Once the right leg is straight, on the exhales, we may gently draw the right leg a little bit closer towards the body. Let the shoulders be relaxed down. Relax the face, so we're just taking smooth, even breaths in and out through the nose. Now take a hold of the strap in the right hand. Left hand anchors left hip to the ground, so the left side must stay down, low back must stay flat to the floor. Feel free to bend the right knee first to get that thigh bone a little closer to the torso, and then open the right leg out to the right, using the elbow as a kickstand. Re-extending, press the heels away from the body, opening up the inner thighs around the inner hips and growing muscles. Left arm may stretch out, head may turn to the left. Take a couple deep breaths. Next inhale, we'll float the head and the leg up. Switch hands. Again, right leg is straight. Keep the low back flat. Just angle the right leg across the midline. Trying to get into the IT band, outer hip now. Continue to keep the low back flat, shoulders down. Breathing into the twist, bend at the left elbow. Left elbow is the kickstand. Right leg falls across the body, the hip floats up. Right arm out, head turns to the right. Close the eyes, take a couple deep breaths in and out through the nose. Using those exhales to wring everything out, let everything go. Inhale, head and leg float up. Open the strap up, slide the right foot in and up. Pause for a moment and waterfall pose. And then bring the right foot to the ground. Again, the strap was closer to the heel and the lower arch. Open up the eye of the knee, straighten the left leg up. Hands should be open so the heart stays open. Slide the right heel straight forward, anchor the right leg to the ground. Hamstring stretching on the exhales, maybe drawing that left leg a little closer towards the body, but trying to keep both legs as straight as possible. And then we'll hold on with the left hand, right hand on top of right hip. Again, bend the left knee to start. That helps get that thigh bone a little bit closer to the torso. Left elbow bends out. Keep tension on the strap. Re-extend the leg nice and straight. Pull that right side down. Right arm reaches out, head turns to the right. Take a couple deep breaths. Opening up the inner thighs, inner hips, and growing muscles. Inhale, head and leg up. Switch hands. Cross that midline, keeping the back flat, pulling the left hip down to target the outer hip. Moving into the twist, right elbow to the ground, keep tension on the strap. Let the left hip lift. Extend the left arm out, look to the left, close the eyes, and wring everything out. Exhaling away any tension or stress in the mind and the body, let it go. Next inhale, we'll float the head and the leg up. Open the strap up, slide the right foot in and up. Waterfall pose, pause for a moment. And then bend the knees, let go of the strap. Cross one ankle on top of the other. Straighten arms up to the ceiling, but flop those fingertips forward one more time. Give them a little wiggle, and then just let them relax in dead bug pose. Just allowing the weight of the thighs to fall into the body. Switch the cross at the ankles. One more breath in dead bug pose. And then uncross the ankles, reach for the feet. We'll open the feet up for a moment in our happy baby pose, allowing the weight of the thighs to drop open and just gently rock side to side here for a moment. Next exhale, hugs the knees and the feet back together. Both arms reach across those shin bones, nose to knees, giving our bodies a great big hug. Breathe it in. And on the exhale, we get to let everything go. Allow the whole body to flop to the floor in our final relaxation. So if you'd like to slide those blankets and pillows back underneath the spine, underneath the legs or the back of the head, please do so. If your body is comfortable, connected flat to the floor here, you're welcome to stay here. And whether you're practicing your arms out from the shoulders with the palms up, or just allowing the arm bones to roll open, keep the palms up so the heart can open. Options in the legs are to keep the knees bent and together, or allow the knees to fall open, soles of the feet come together, or both legs stretch out nice and wide, feet flopping open. So we'll all take a moment here to get organized. Use eye coverings if you have them. If you're adding support, add the support. If there's things around us that we're not using, slide them out of the way so the body feels this open space around us. Rock out the head until we find the very back center of the head. Poof the cheeks up with air, wiggle out the mouth, the tongue and jaw. And then with the lips softly touching, release the tongue and lower jaw to gravity. Relax all the little muscles across the face. Relax the throat, the area of the heart and the chest. Feel the weight of the arms sink a little further into the ground. Soften the palms and let the fingertips curl up naturally. Relax the abdomen, all of the internal organs. Let the low back sink into the ground. Feel and notice the bones of the pelvis, the space where the thigh bones connect to the pelvis around the hip sockets. Relaxing the area completely and all the meaty muscles that wrap around the area of the pelvis, the hips. And just like water, let that relaxation flow down the legs, around the thighs, behind the knees, all the way down into the ankles, the feet and toes, relaxing the whole body. Allow the breath to flow naturally in and out of the body, just like the waves of the ocean that naturally roll in and roll back out. And if the mind wanders, gently bring it back to the peaceful breath, giving ourselves just one more moment this evening to let go, to relax, and sink into Shavasana. Slowly coming back to the rhythm of the breath. We'll start to breathe life back into the body, waking up the toes and the fingertips. If our knees are open in Baddha Konasana, again, float the knees up, and we'll all bring the legs together down the middle of the mat. Inhale, reach the arms overhead, and take a moment to create space in the body, left to right, front to back. Spread the fingers, spread the toes. On the exhale, float those arms down, walk the feet in, and then draw the knees into the body to massage out the low back. Right arm falls beside the head. We roll and pause on our right side for a moment and sleeping baby pose. And then trying to keep the eyes soft or closed, press into the ground. And we'll bring the body back up, visiting any comfortable seated posture and taking just a couple more nice big breaths together before we go on with the rest of our evening. So minding our surroundings and sitting up on our sit bones, nice and tall to the crown of the head. Let's extend the arms out from beside the body, palms up. Inhale, breathing. Let's float those arms all the way up to the ceiling. And let's gather up everything we need for the rest of our evening. Turning those palms out, float those fingertips all the way back down to the ground. And exhaling away all that other junk we don't need this evening. And one more big breath in to float the arms up. Bringing the palms to touch. Exhale, lowering the hands to the heart and humbly bowing our head down to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and remembering to be grateful to anyone else that made it possible for us to connect and practice our yoga together today. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So I thank you all so much for tuning in, checking in, virtually joining me this evening for our yoga. Continued thank you to Austin Yoga Tree and Jonathan and Aviv and everyone else. So, if you have any questions or comments for me, feel free to ask.